Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Raceface.Pro GT3 iRacing Sprint Series Pro-Am, and our drivers are about to go underway. Gordon Hale's out in first place, followed by Chris DeSantos, Ruan DeToy, Malcolm Pringle, Sergey Starkov, Wyatt Peters, Roland Ferrer, Lee Bullion, Leon Vessels, Gareth Brits, Robbie Teen, Jacques Eva running a little bit further down. And Dimitri Pravadas, Doe Gerber, Fani Kravenstein, Etienne Swart, Paul Nadir, Yuppie Simons, Willem Pienaar, Stephen Cakebread, Peter van der Spey, Duncan Roderick, Mark Pelser, and Vaynon Kersop down towards the bottom. And Norman Lewis is down at 25th. Sean Stratham, actually one of our pros that mistakenly jumped in. So, as we get ready to rock and roll, we will be seeing the likes of Gordon Hales and Chris Lee DeSantos duke it out for the top running order as they look to try and power their way to the top. Gordon Hales leading out the top of the charts in the Chev. Will look in his rearview mirror to see the two slowpoke racing of Ruan DeToy and Malcolm Pringle. Got to chase him down as they make their way, speeding off the line. Green flags away. And now it's time to go racing. Gordon Hale's trying to pull away from Chris Lee DeSantos. He's going to go around the outside. And it does look like Ruan DeToy going and filtering in behind him as Malcolm Pringle got a little bit bottled up and now has Sergey Sarkov looking on the inside, trying to get past Roland Ferreira, trying to chase him down, spirals to the inside, but it's Lee Bullion going and losing it down the order. Unfortunately, it looks like he may have been tagged. Sergey Sarkov losing out that little bit of time, still trying to battle it out against Peters, who's just dropping back. Leon Vessels a little bit further down. Robbie Teens trying to get a little bit of pace underneath him. Dimitri Pravadas, Fani Kravenstein getting chased down by Gareth Brits. And then you got Paul Nadir, Willem Pienaar with like of Etienne Swart, Mark Pelser, Stephen Cakebread, Yuppie Simons trying to come back through the fray. Peter van der Spey, Duncan Roderick, Jacques Eva, Vaynon Kersop, Norman Lewis, and Doe Gerber a little bit further back. So change out towards the top, and already one driver out of the running, and that was Bullion. But take a look, Chris Lee DeSantos now going and dealing with Ruan, who's gathering a lot of time in that McLaren 720S. Team Slowpokes onto the back of Logistical Nightmare Racing, exits the bus stop beautifully, runs up a little bit high as he tries to chase down. He's going to go around the outside, carrying as much momentum as possible as they launch their way through. Looks above, looks down, trying to figure out midline, highline, what's going to work out to get past the BMW of Lee DeSantos. Chris is going to go and keep that inside line firmly supported. He does swoop back up to just go and bring the nose barreling down into turn one, forcing DeToy out wide, who just couldn't quite get the same drive as him. Roland Ferreira down in fourth place, keeping it to Sergey, but it is a Team Slowpokes Racing. Malcolm Pringle, Wyatt Peters, and Leon Vessels chasing each other down, but all right on the back of them. Fani Kravenstein giving everything he can as he gets battled out with Gareth Brits, Etienne Swart, Willem Pienaar, Stephen Cakebread still hanging into the mix there as he battles his way through. Not having too much of a problem, but Willem Pienaar going and scoring a bit of damage onto the front of his Ferrari and is just limping the car around, but still giving a huge chase to likes of Etienne Swart ahead. Yuppie Simons closing up under braking, trying to make up a little bit of time at the moment, but it is now close racing for our second place as DeSantos trying to keep ahead of Ruan DeToy. But we do have mandatory pit stops as well during the course of the race, and drivers are going to have to keep that well in mind as Doe Gerber, Paul Nadir, Robbie Tees, Dimitri Pravadas, and Lee Bullion are in the pits getting themselves sorted out. Ruan DeToy closing up. We do know he's a bit more comfortable through bus stop, gets a lot of time, closes right onto the back of Chris, but had to back out of the power as he got right too close onto the back of him. He's going to now keep in the train. Gordon Hale's starting to open up that gap a little bit more. Roland Ferreira keeping ahead of Sergey Sarkov, who looks in his mirror, see Malcolm Pringle closing out at a rate of knots. The Ferrari versus the McLaren at the moment, and it does look like Malcolm Pringle starting to get the drive. Gordon Hales pulls into the pits. He's going to be serving his pit stop to get it done and dusted as Malcolm Pringle disappears and has Sergei Sokov all on the back of him. Runs out wide. Wyatt Peters going to try and get a good look at him. Looks for the inside. Couldn't quite get the tuck down. So Gordon Hales pulling into the pits early on. Will leave DeSantos and the likes of Detoy chasing it out for the front pack as these two inherit first place for now. Chris has to do everything he can. Run tries to look for the inside line. Under braking, looks around the outside, carrying as much momentum as possible. Just couldn't get it all together. And a little bit further back there, Roland Ferreira's got Malcolm Pringle closing out a red knots. Sergey dealing with Peters at this point, who's going and lunging in, trying to find the gap. Back on to the Daytona Oval, though. It's all about the slipstream and where you're going to sit, as Chris opts for the low line at the moment. And this is going to force Ruan du Toit to go to the midline if he wants to try and get a bit of a pass. Bottoming out on the short straight, heading towards the bus stop. Chris needing to just keep on the throttle, and Ruan doing everything he can. Under braking, tries to get a little bit of momentum through the bus stop. Goes and brakes a little bit earlier, gets this thing shot across, closes up the gap around the outside. Has he got enough in the tank to just try and push that little bit harder? The McLaren going and utilizing all its power at the moment, but unfortunately the BMW just having that a little bit more of a faster line. Roland Ferreira battling it out. Suddenly has Pringle on the outside. Pringle's going to try and get a lot of momentum here, and suddenly Sergey getting overtaken by Peters. So it looks like Team Slowpoke Racing taking it in turns at the moment. Sergey battled off Peters, keeps him at bay, forces Peters out wide, who goes out very wide, and that allows Leon Vessels to try and have a good go at him. So Leon's going to try and look for the outside line, actually braking a bit early to allow Peters back into the fight. Not going to get too much into a team battle there. A little bit further down though, Stephen Cakebread getting ahead of Willem Pienaar on the drive. Now needs to keep up as much momentum as possible as Willem Pienaar going and battling with that front end of his car. Can get it into the pits, get a little bit of work done on the car, be able to go racing once again. Yuppie Simons running it a little bit further back. Will try and carry as much momentum as possible. He's getting chased down by the captain, Peter van der Spey, with Jacques Ever right behind him. And Jacques, in the Rexy Porsche colours, is looking to take a bite out of the captain. Mark Pelser chasing down in the old school livery of the Porsche, black and red for the 992 when it originally came out. Wynand Kersop carrying a lot of time, but he has got Duncan Roderick going and closing up that gap at a rate of knots, as the Porsches seem to be the pick at the moment. Dimitri Privadas in the pits. Norman Lewis a little bit further back, trying to make his way through. And here we got Gordon Hales, who was out in first place. Unfortunately, now a little bit further down the order after that pit stop, taking an early pit stop. Nonetheless, Doug Herber running in 21st, keeping ahead of Robbie Teens, and Lee Bouillon managed to get his car back out and going after losing the rear and getting into the wall. So Chris Santos opens up the gap through to turn one once again, just keeping the toy at the bay, with Malcolm Pringle running in third place, Roland Ferreira running in third, but Sergey's caught on to the back of him. Sergey's going to push as hard as he can to try and get that pass done and dusted. Yuppie Simons onto the back of Willem Pienaar, and does have Willem Pienaar off the road. Gets past, beautifully done, but Peter van der Spey got bottled up a little bit there. Suddenly Jacques Evers all over the back of him. Jacques going to look for the inside line. Peter van der Spey backs out of going for a pass on Willem Pienaar to focus on the defense to keep Jacques at bay. He runs out a little bit wide at the moment. Malcolm Pringle trying to carry as much momentum as possible as he really hammers it down at the moment. Seeing the toy close up at a rate of knots. Back to Chris as they fight their way through. It's turning into a fight all over for our drivers. 25 laps in this race. One mandatory pit stop where they've got to get the tires taken off, new set on, and they go racing. But let's see who's going to have enough life in their tires, as Ruan du Toit this evening is not backing down from Chris Lee DeSantos at the moment, who tries to defend inside line once again, keeping a very, very fast inside line, but is starting to hurt that left front quite a bit. So Detroit really needs to dig in deep here. if he wants to get that pass done, as we jump on board with the McLaren, chasing down and seeing that logistical nightmare racing BMW just ahead of him. 0.8 of a second. Can he swap around? He's going to go for the inside line, heading into turn 1. Second guessed it's going to try and balance the car out. Gets underneath. Oh, a little bit of contact as the toy closed up a little bit too quick there and lost out that time. Sergei Sarkov onto the back of Roland Ferreira, pushing as hard as he can as Wyatt Peters lays in wait. It is Chev, Ferrari, McLaren fighting it out for 4th, 5th, and 6th place, while Malcolm Pringle in the McLaren a little bit further up the road, trying to break away at this moment. Yuppie Simons, Peter van der Spade, Willem Pienaar all pulling into the pits and getting their pit stops done and dusted. So they want to try and get it all sorted out before the race carries on, as they're getting an early pit stops at this point. Oh man, this is going to be a bit of an interesting one though, as it's a bit too early, I would think. Majority of the drivers would more aim for a halfway, so I would say about 15 minutes into the race to really get that pit stop done and dusted, but others opting to get a little bit of an early pit stop, focus on the drive then, as you see Duncan Roderick all over the back of Veynon Kursop trying to chase him down. Sergey closed up the gap to Roland Ferreira at the moment, trying to see where he can get the pass done and dusted. Heading into the bus stop though, Roland Ferreira getting every bit of chance possible. Sergey getting a terrible exit, and Wyatt Peters will immediately take the opportunity to go for the lunge. So Team Slowpoke's driver Wyatt Peters on the outside, while Sergei Starkov, who's just trying to keep it all together, running very, very close to the apron. Both cars weaving and bobbing as they make their way down the straight. Around the Daytona Oval they go, and it does look like Wyatt Peters is able to get it going. Malcolm Pringles, though, sets the fastest lap time of the race with a 1:45.6 as he closes up on Detoy and Santos, who are constantly defending against one another. Roland Ferreira managing to get ahead. Wyatt Peters getting ahead of Sergei Sarkov. Leon Vessels now closes up at a rate of knots. So Sergei stuck in a bit of a sandwich here for the two teammates, and he's got to try and figure out what's going to work out for him. Leon Vessels is running a little bit further behind. He's able to give a little bit of information on the way through. Gareth Britz from the Almost Gaming Nitro team dealing with Farney Cravenstein at the moment of ETA Motorsport, and ETA is having a great time. Farney really trying to dig it in at the moment to get a little bit more drive on that Porsche to ensure he can go for a pass. He sees Etienne Swart in the background. Rem de Toy will try and make up that little bit of time to Chris DeSantos as Jacques Ever into the pits, getting his pit stop done and dusted. So quite a few people just going and diving into the pits early on during the course of the race, leaving quite a few to stay out in the fight. And we're actually going to pull up that pit lap so we can see exactly who's gone into the pits at the moment. And so far we can see Gordon Hale, Jacques Ever, Yuppie Simons, Peter van der Spey, Willem Pienaar, Dirk Herber, Robbie Teens, Lee Bouillon, all going into the pits. Dimitri Provados, Paul Nadir, unfortunately, are still going and getting himself sorted. Dimitri still in the pits. Paul, unfortunately, out of the race, so he's not going to be getting back in at the moment. But Chris Lee DeSantos dealing with Team Slowpokes all over the back of him, as we do see Malcolm Pringle overcook it and now is caught out. He was trying to keep up to Ruin de Toy and now falls down the field as Leon Vessels goes and waves goodbye past his teammate. Sergei Sarkov tries to take the opportunity of confusion to get past likes of Wyatt Peters. He took the dive on the inside, couldn't quite get it done, but well done on great avoidance. Has to go to Roland Ferreira, who just saw Malcolm Pringle park down the middle of nowhere and realizing, no, this is a bit of a problem here. I've got to try and get past and get going. I see Roland Toy all over the back of Chris at the moment, trying to figure out where he can get that pass done and dusted. Not going to be an easy time out there. It's going to be a very difficult time to get past Chris, as he knows how to make that BMW as wide as possible. Coming from the world of Assetto Corsa Competizione, and also being a big fan of the BMW M6, which was just a ginormous car by itself. He's going to know exactly what to do with the BMW M4 GT3 as they make their way through the bus stop, launching his way across. And Detoy losing out that bit of time, not as comfortable as what he was. Roland Ferreira in third place, slowly getting drawn in once again. Peters, Sergey, Leon, and Malcolm trying to make up some time. Gareth Britt has still got Fanny Cravenstein all over the back of him, trying to make up that little bit of time as they make their way through. So Leon Vessels closing up, runs to the apron and pulls into the pits. And that also brings Malcolm Pringle into the fray as well. So Malcolm Pringle pulling into the pits. I think he will be sorting out and swapping out those tyres from the flat spots that just happened on all four of them. So the two of them are into the pits to get that done and dusted. They're hoping to get out ahead of Gordon Hales at the moment, which is going to be the difficult one because Gordon is making up time at a rate of knots, trying to claw his way back into it. Vanon Kursop and Duncan Roderick still fighting out. Duncan runs up high, switches down low. Vanon Kursop going and defending against it. Brings the car back round. Both cars having an absolute slugfest out there. But Gordon Hales moves up into 12th place, so he gets the run on Malcolm Pringle and Leon Vessels at the moment as he looks to try and carry the momentum through. But he is getting chased down by Lee Bouillon. Lee, a blue flag in terms of drivers, but he is still hanging in there to get the race done and dusted. Not going to give up as yet, which is always grand to see. Chris and Ruan still fighting it out. Wyatt Peters trying everything he can to close up the gap, with Sergei Sarkov closing up right behind him. So the two having a great time out there. Norman Lewis into the pits as well. So the Santos now needing to be very careful as he battles it out. Windscreen wipers going ablaze for the likes of Detoy as he's trying to psych out the competition. We're expecting rain to come as they make their way around the track. I don't think we're expecting any rain here. Chris Santos and Detoy pull into the pits, so they're going to get themselves sorted out. Will Roland Ferreira answer in kind? No, he's going to keep going, seeing Wyatt Peters and Sergei Sarkov peel into the pits as well. So Roland Ferreira is going to keep on the gas and keep that Chevy up in towards the top. Might have been caught out by the decision. Will he give the information to Fanny Cravenstein? No, Fanny Cravenstein's going to also keep going with Etienne Swart chasing him down as well. Stephen Catebread into the pits. Gareth Britz into the pits. Will Vanon Kursop and Duncan Roderick. Duncan dives into the pits. Vanon's going to keep on going at this point. So the Santos is hoping that he's going to get the run over Gordon Hales at the moment. But Vanon Kursop runs himself up into 4th place, going and avoiding everyone as Gordon makes the launch through. Can he carry the momentum? There is Detoy on the inside, and it's all about the Chev putting the power down early. Can he get past? Yes, he does, as he gets ahead of all the drivers. Gordon Hales back up towards 5th position. He's into that top 5 again. Detoy dropping in right behind him, but he did get the jump on DeSantos on the run through, and now Wyatt Peters along with Malcolm Pringle closing up that gap at a rate of knots. Sergei Sarkov wants to try and get a bit of momentum as they battle their way around. Leon Vessels chasing down as they fight their way through. Malcolm Pringle will have to keep a very close eye on his teammates, who's putting a lot of pressure onto the back of him. His teammates ahead of him, apologies. And then we have got Sergei Sarkov that's actually gaining a lot of time. So Sergei is going to try and force the two into a mistake, as he does see Malcolm Pringle having a little bit of a problem out there with his times. Etienne Swart closed up the gap to Fanny Cravenstein at a rate of knots. They're fighting it out for 3rd place. Etienne Swart dives to the inside line and has got Fanny on the outside as Etienne Swart pulls into the pits to get himself sorted out. Fanny and Roland Ferreira will keep going. Will Vanon Kursop pull into the pits? Now that we've gone over the halfway mark by quite a mile, we're 18 minutes into this race of this 30-minute Heat 1 as they battle their way through. Vanon Kursop really needs to try and figure out what's going to work out for him. He's going to keep on going. Fanny in 2nd place and Roland Ferreira in 1st will keep the momentum going as Gordon Hales runs in 4th place. Brenda Toy running in 5th. Chris Lee DeSantos runs in 6th. Wyatt Peters and Malcolm Pringle going side by side with one another as Malcolm Pringle tries to go around the outside on his very own teammates, bottling him up to the inside line. Malcolm bouncing over the curbs as he tries to get himself all sorted out. I think he's getting a little bit uncomfortable as Sergey gets right onto the back of him. So Sergey's going to keep the pressure onto the back and try and move his way through. Gareth Britz getting the run on Etienne Swart as he goes and launches his way through. So the running order as it stands: Roland Ferreira, Fani Cravenstein, Vernon Kersop needing to pit. 4th place is Gordon Hales, Ruan de Toy, along with Chris Lee dos Santos. Then it's Wyatt Peters, chased down by Malcolm Pringle. Sergey Solikov looking to put the pressure on both of them at the moment. Leon Vessels in 10th, Gareth Britz in the 11th. 12th is Etienne Swart, Jacques Ever, Stephen Catebread, Yuppie Simons, Peter van der Spey, Willem Pienaar, Robbie Teens, Doug Herbert, Duncan Roderick, Mark Pulser, Norman Lewis, and Lee Billion going and running out the grid as it stands. Lee trying to close up the gap as quick as possible. Roland Ferreira still going to go another lap. And along with Fani Cravenstein, is he going to go another lap? Yes, he is. And Veno Kersop, I think, will be following in kind. Those three are going to lose out a lot of time as we enter the final 10 minutes. Veno Kersop going and aims to dive himself into the pit, so he's going to try and get ahead of Fani Cravenstein and Roland Ferreira at the moment. But here comes Gordon Hales as he pulls along Ruan de Toy and Chris, who has got Wyatt all over the back of him. Wyatt looks up high to try and get past Chris. Going to try and utilize as much of the power as possible. Going to sweep across the nose of the BMW. Chris going very defensive on the inside line. Oh! As it does look like Wyatt Peters getting caught out by his teammate, going and giving him a little bit of a bump draft, but too much there. And that landed up with Wyatt Peters into the back of Chris dos Santos. That's helped out Leon Vessels, but dos Santos a little bit further down at the moment. We'll have to be very careful with that. Gareth Britz trying to defend as they go door to door with Etienne Swart. Etienne for the Altered Carbon Racing will get the drive though, carrying a lot of momentum through as Britz holds the inside line, gets himself all organized, tries to bring it back, and dos Santos pulling off of the circuit. And that has given an opportunity for Swart, but a bit of carnage happening as he bumps into the back, well, the front end of Gareth Britz, and that is going to be a bit of damage to the car. Roland Ferreira into the pits. Malcolm Pringle trying to get himself going now as he keeps ahead with Wyatt Peters just ahead of him. But dos Santos going and pulling into the pits, and looks like he's going to be retiring that car for Heat 1, much to the frustrations of him. But not much can be done there. Fani Cravenstein still carrying on the momentum, will go yet another lap without pitting. The Porsche driver is not going to be backing down from this one. Gordon Hales running will get past the likes of Roland Ferreira, and the question is, where is Roland Ferreira going to pop out in all this as he's going to spiral down the order? Well, he's starting to leave the pits now. Gordon Hales gets past, Toy gets past. Will Sergey Surkov be able to get the run on Roland Ferreira at the moment? It's going to be a little bit far from it. I think Roland may have done enough to hold his position of 4th place. Sergey will run in 5th. Wyatt Peters and Malcolm Pringle going and moving their way around. Peters going and pushing Pringle out to the outside and ensuring they can keep going as Team Slowpoke not backing down from this fight. Leon Vessels trying to close up the gap. Immediately closes onto the back of Malcolm Pringle to try and see where can he get by at this point. Not going to be an easy time out there as they battle their way through. Etienne Swart, Gareth Blitz, Jacques Ever a little bit further down. Stephen Catebread down in 12th place. Yuppie Simons a little bit further down. He's in 13th, battling it out with Peter van der Spey, who is constantly putting a huge amount of pressure onto the back of him. So Peter van der Spey not backing down from the fight here. He's going to try and keep Yuppie at bay. Yuppie's not going to make it easy though. He's had a very tough time out in qualifying and now looks to try and put himself towards the sharp end of the field. Running in 13th, but he's clawing away at that top 10. He does not want to fall down any lower than where he is. Robbie Teams trying to keep himself a little bit ahead of Willem Pienaar. Doug Herbert trying to make the run as Vernon Kersop, who is sporting a bit of damage on his Porsche, that front end looking a bit squashed out. And Duncan Roderick closing up at a rate of not. Mark Pulser, Norm Lewis, and the likes of Lee Bouillon just having a Sunday drive out there at Daytona. He is just enjoying the sights and sounds at the moment as Farney Cravenstein still carrying on with the rounds. Gordon Hales will be trying to close up to him. So Gordon doing everything he can to keep in those 145s, those high 45s going towards 46s, with DeToy running in third place. Roland Ferreira, who had that very, very late pit stop, actually came into a very good position ahead of Sergey, but Wyatt Peters still battling out Malcolm Pringle at the moment. The three teammates are no longer talking to each other on the radio. It is all racing. This is pineapple racing. This is, well, papaya racing. This is nose to tail between the teammates, and at the moment Malcolm Pringle not having an easy time. Wyatt Peters with a bit of frustration behind the wheel is looking to carry as much momentum through the race as possible. Going to be a proper banger through it all, as Peters has got Pringle putting a huge amount of pressure onto the back of him. Can't quite get it done. Etienne Swart keeping ahead of Gareth Britz as he tries to close down that gap, and immediately you can see that is the light. That's the BMW of Chris Lee DeSantos that stuck himself in the middle there, and Jacques Ava is right behind. So DeSantos is trying to unlap himself from the rest of the field after sporting quite a bit of damage on his car after the earlier impact. So he's going to really push as hard as he can. Doug Herbert catching up to Wynand Kersop. Wynand going on the defense, holds the inside line as they also closed up to Peter van der Space. So now this is going to be interesting. Farney Cravenstein into the pits. Final 4 minutes of the, well, 4.5 minutes of the race left. Gordon Hales will take the top spot with Ruan de Toy running in second place, with Doug Herbert trying to close down the gap. Wynand Kersop, despite the damage, going around the outside, as it does look like Peter van der Spae got a little bit of a slowdown there. He loses out time. Wynand Kersop goes on the defense, but he's going to be having inherent understeer starting to kick in, and then mid-corner snap oversteer from the damage as they make their way through. So all that needs to be done from Doug Herbert right now, Team Tryhard, is to keep laying the pressure on, keep hugging that inside line and forcing Wynand to go and battle it out a little bit more. Farney Cravenstein comes out of the pits and he cements himself just ahead of Jacques Ava, getting himself firmly planted in between the two of them. But now he's going to try and get a little bit of heat into that car as quick as possible, as Jacques Ava is going to be chasing him down, looking for the inside line, switches it up, goes to the outside, couldn't quite get that pass done and dusted. Going to carry the momentum as Ava getting desperate for the pass up on the inside, nearly contact between the two of them. And Chris, who is trying to claw his way back through, is seeing this fight just ahead of him. He wants to try and get past as quick as possible, but at the same time, he cannot interfere with the race. So he's going to really start to try and battle it out here, figure out what's going to work for him on the way through. Peter van der Spae into the pits and out the pits. So Peter van der Spae going and making his way through pit lane yet again, getting some work done on the car, and I think possibly sported some damage. That's why he was all the way down, with the cars going by him like second to none. So not having an easy time out there. But we're into the closing stages of this race. Hales running his way through. DeToy, Ferreira, Sergey is keeping ahead of Wyatt Peters and Leon Vessels, as it looks like Sergey hasn't had enough fuel. Sergey pulls into the pits. Leon Vessels going and taking that fourth place, loses out to Wyatt Peters, who's sporting a bit of damage here. So Leon needs to really get into the fight. Vessels needs to dig in to the back of Peters to try and force a mistake to happen. Malcolm Pringle's way off, but Sergey, who was on an outright charge throughout the race, unfortunately looks like he may have underfueled and had to get himself back into the box to carry on with the race. He is going to drop down like a lead brick at the moment, down into 14th, 15th. He's still in the pits. He's still waiting to come out, as he's only exiting now behind Roderick. Norm Lewis might actually get the run on him as well. So a bit of a loss out there. Wynand Kersop still keeping on to the back of Doug Herbert, as Doug got the pass done and dusted to Wynand Kersop, and will keep the momentum. Mark Pacer and Peter van der Spae into the pits. Chris Lee DeSantos going to try and keep circulating at the moment to try and score some valuable points. Remember, they do have 2 drop rounds during the course of the season, and you want to try and make sure you score as many points as possible during the course of the race to make sure you keep going. Leon Vessels chasing down, carries a lot of momentum through the bus stop and will immediately close up onto Peters just ahead of him, going up through the gears. The McLarens going and bellowing around Daytona as they sweep around the corners. Gordon Hales will be on his final lap as he enters turn 1. Detroit trying to do everything he can to close up that gap of 1.5 seconds. Roland Ferreira running in third, 10 seconds back from him, but has kept it consistent as we see Wyatt Peters going and dropping down. Suddenly, he's having to fight it out with Leon Vessels, who looks to go for the undercut. Leon couldn't quite get the drive, but Peters going and sporting that little bit of damage is going to ensure he stays in for the fight. Mark Pelser trying to make his way up through the order onto the back of Peter van der Spey. Will have to properly give it horns at this point. So drivers fight their way through towards the back end, and it's going to be an outright fight nonetheless through them all. Peters just keeping ahead in 4th place. Hales onto the back. Now carrying a lot of momentum. He just needs to keep it all together. 1:45.7 was his best lap time, with 1:45.75 was Ruan Detoy. Actually, literally 0.001 quicker than Gordon Hales as they make their way through. Roland Ferreira running 46s, the rest of the field running 46s, except for Leon Vessels, Malcolm Pringle, all running into the 45s as their best lap times. But Gordon Hales has done enough to carry a lot of the momentum through. Early pit stop in the first or under 10 minutes of the race. He got it done and worked his way back up into first place. Consistent effort, and will be smiling as he comes towards the line. Gordon Hales taking first place for Heat 1 here of the Raceface.Pro GT3 iRacing Sprint Series. Ruan Detoy taking second place. Roland Ferreira will be taking third and going to be smiling ear to ear on that one for the ETA Autosport. And it's Wyatt Peters narrowly keeping his position, 4th place ahead of Leon Vessels. Malcolm Pringle will follow up in 6th place. Etienne Swart just narrowly gets ahead of Gareth Brits as they came across the line. 0.088 between the two. Well done to Gareth Brits and Etienne Swart on a very close finish. And we do see Fonnie Cravenstein, Jacques Savers, Stephen Cakebread, Yuppie Simons will come across the line in 12th position. Robbie Teens battles his way through, will come across in 13th. Willem Pienaar will come across the line, followed by Doug Herber, Venon Kursop, Duncan Roderick, Sergei Starkov, Norman Lewis, Peter van der Spey, Mark Pelser, and down the order, Chris Lee DeSantos. Unfortunately, drivers not able to finish is Lee Bouillon, Dimitri Pavardis, Paul Nadir, and as we know, Sean Stratham is a pro driver, so he is definitely not in the mix yet. So Sean Stratham not in the mix and is not part of this fight. So our drivers made their way through, and it was Gordon Hales to take the victory. But let's go and take a look at our Pro-Am results after Heat 1. So Gordon Hales taking the top, Ruan Detoy, followed by Roland Ferreira, Wyatt Peters, Leon Vessels, Malcolm Pringle, Etienne Swart, Gareth Brits, Fonnie Gravenstein, along with Jacques Savers, Stephen Cakebread, Yuppie Simons, Robbie Teens, Willem Pienaar, Doug Herber, Venon Kursop, Duncan Roderick, Sergei Sarkov, who unfortunately ran out of fuel right at the last, and that dropped him down the order quite quickly. Not ideal circumstances there, and he will be going and chomping at the bit after that one. Norman Lewis, Peter van der Spey, Mark Pelser, Chris Lee DeSantos, Lee Bouillon, Dimitri Pavardis, and Paul Nadir going and rounding out our Heat 1. So we're moving on to our little run of a warm-up. It's 5 minutes for our drivers to get themselves sorted. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining us here tonight for the Raceface.Pro GT3 iRacing Sprint Series for our Pro-Am division. Round 2 here at Daytona International. My name is Stephen Koenig, and there's still much more to go on. We've got Heat 2 coming up very, very shortly, so don't go anywhere. We're in for some exciting racing nonetheless, and our drivers looking to make their way through as we see Doug Herber coming out onto the track ahead of one of the Team Slowpokes racing just ahead of him. So they've got 5 minutes to warm themselves up, get going once again, and start tinkering with the setups. It is an open setup series, which means you can get yourself set up in terms of what your pit stops are going to look like, what your fueling is going to look like, take a look back at what worked and what didn't in Heat 1 that you can use towards Heat 2. I know there's going to be a couple of drivers looking back through their books and seeing what is going to be the running order. Wyatt Peters looking to get around without a broken nose. Doug Herber looking to chase him down. And Peter van der Spey running in third place out on the track. He finished a little bit further down the order. He had a great fight, but unfortunately some damage to the car took him a little bit further down. Fonnie Cravenstein out on the track as well as they make their way through. So, little key factors going on, because what's going to be exciting now, folks, is we're going to take that top 5 and go and swap them around. So our top 5 finishers for Heat 1 will be turned around, which means Gordon Hales will be starting from 5th place behind everyone yet again. So not going to have that clean air that he had at the start of the race to try and move his way up through the order. He's going to have to be very, very cautious on it as our drivers soaking up this little bit of time to get themselves used to it. Let's actually jump on board with our Porsche and will give us a bit of a lap of the circuit. So Doug Herber giving us a lap of Daytona, and this is the Daytona Oval where we get to see the Daytona 500. Absolutely tremendous part for NASCAR and anyone out there getting to see a fantastic run. Well, then we start to break off. We're down into the Roval section, down the gears into turn 1. It is a very late apex to bring it back, and you quickly have to straighten yourself out, flat out. Turn 2, turn 3, as you make your way through the corners, down into turn 4. A long right-hander. You got to just wait to get on the power. Run out a little bit wide. There is a lot of time to be gained. You don't want to keep it too tight. A quick left-hand kink coming up where you absolutely pin through the gears and then quickly down the gears once again. Long right-hander that you just got to be gentle on the power to bring it back. Straight line on the short straight. And then you've got a long left-hander to try and pull yourself onto the oval. This is key to get as much momentum onto the oval as much as possible, as we do see the traction control lights on the Porsche start flaring up, trying to stabilize Doug Herber's Porsche as he takes us away around. Keeping on the apron, towards the apron though, that is the low line. Middle of the circuit is midline, and high line is up towards the wall. Low line does take a lot out of your tires, high line doesn't. So in endurance, you do want to go a bit high line. Third gear through the bus stop, and around you go onto the power. You've got to be confident. A little bit too much to the left-hand side will land up in a spin. You want to make sure that your entry into the bus stop is absolutely perfect. Otherwise, you're in for a world of hurt. Doug Herber now onto the final portion of the track, going down the momentum. But I do want to point out the sun starting to set as we saw those rays coming in through the front windscreen, and that is going to be an absolute nightmare for our drivers. Something they've got to be well aware of is sunsets and sunrises, because that sun comes in, hits you in the windscreen, and you battle to try and keep yourself all in order. You battle to see the brake markers. That's the only way on the track is out towards the grandstand fences. So our drivers warming up as we got 2 seconds before we go to Heat 2. As our warm-up finishes, we'll be heading to the grid for Heat 2. And let's take a look at the running order as they get themselves lined up. And there we go. Gordon Hales, though. It looks like our top 5 is not going to be reversed this time round. Gordon Hales will start in first place. Chris Lee DeSantos, Ruben Toy, Malcolm Pringle, along with Sergei Sarkov, Wyatt Peters, Rodin Ferreira, Lee Bouillon, Leon Vessels, No, there's definitely been a change in the running order because... Is it? No. Roland Ferreira. Yes, it has, because we can see the Chevrolet of Gordon Hales a little bit further down. So Gordon Hales will be starting in 5th place, and we'll have the likes of Wyatt Peters, Sergei Sarkov, Malcolm Pringle, Ruan du Toit. Chris will be way further down the order, and now battling out to Roland Ferreira is going to be keep an eye out for. Leon Vessels leading out the pack. Wyatt Peters, Ruan du Toit, Roland Ferreira, Malcolm Pringle. Gordon Hales running a little bit further down, is going to have to keep it all in order as they make their way through. But it is Team Slowpokes running 1st and 2nd at the moment. Roland Ferreira, who saw what his strategy could do in Heat 1. Is he going to replicate it yet again? Will we see Gordon Hales be able to bring his way back up through the order as they make their way onto the oval? Oh, what on earth? As we do see, that was du Toit, who just went down over the nose of Roland Ferreira off the start. He just went to the inside. So what on earth happened there? And now he's trying to bring himself back up after going and losing out. So Roland Ferreira is going to have to be a little bit cautious here, as he did sport a bit of damage on the early portions of the race. And I do think Ruan du Toit will be feeling a little bit, well, egg on the face after that one. Because going and crashing behind the safety car, not ideal circumstances. As we go racing, Leon Vessels gets the jump. Wyatt Peters and Ruan du Toit all carrying the momentum through. Malcolm Pringle chasing down. Roland Ferreira stuck on the inside. Will have the entire Team Slowpokes racing go around him, and he's battling it out against Malcolm Pringle just to stop that train from coming through. He puts himself into position and holds back. Gareth Britz now dealing with the likes of Gordon Hales, who's actually dropped down. Gordon outbraking himself a bit. Suddenly has Jacques Ever up on the inside, looking for a bit of a pass at the moment. Couldn't quite get it all hooked in. So Jacques is going to try and get himself back into the fight here. Yuppie Simons is keeping ahead of Etienne Swart, who's got Vanon Kursop all over the back of him, as we do see Gareth Britz off into the dirt. Gareth Britz outbraked himself into the wall, and now is losing out entire field worth of positions at the moment. Barney Kravenstein trying to battle it out. Suddenly sees Stephen Cakebread coming, taking a good look at him. Stephen Cakebread has raced in quite a few international races, namely Limits of Adhesion at one point of his time, going and having a bit of fun out there representing South Africa with the likes of Janneman Price for a long period of time. Robbie Teens going and fighting down Willem Pinot, chasing him down. Then we've got Doug Herbe, Sergei Silikov trying to close up the gap. Dimitri Provadas, Chris DeSantos late on the brakes, lunges in to the corner and just couldn't quite get it sorted out. Puts himself in to the wall, and that is not ideal circumstances for him. Takes that quick lunge, and unfortunately couldn't quite get it all stuck in. Wyatt Peters going and moving next to Ruan du Toit as they go side by side through the oval. Du Toit is slightly faster with a 147.9 as he tries to carry a little bit more momentum. Oh, a bit of a snap, and so does Wyatt Peters, both getting a snap there. That's brought Malcolm Pringle back into the fray, but Gordon Hales getting past Roland Ferreira on the in-turn, and now it is going to be a chase for them. The Chevs have come to play with the McLarens. Roland Ferreira actually slowing down a little bit there as Gordon Hales didn't get the best of exits as he chases him down. Jacques Ever trying to close up that gap, will be doing everything he can to go for the pass as Gordon Hales late on the brakes, really trying to get that send in on the inside from yards back. Roland Ferreira trying to just keep it all in order as the cars make their way through. Sergei Sarkov starting to make his way around as he tried to line up around the outside of Doe Herber. Couldn't quite get it all hooked in. Willem Pinot now battling out, gets a bit of a slide. And Pinot really battling it out to try and get himself sorted. So Pinot's going to have to be very, very careful here as he's suddenly getting chased down by Doe Herber. Doe closing up at a rate of knot, looks towards the inside. Doe Herber taking the line for the bus stop. He's going to try and get it all hooked in. Can he get it sorted out? Second guessed it. He's going to try and get the run through and out of bus stop, and does so. So does Sergey, who actually had a little bit more pace than Doe Herber on that run through. So Willem Pienaar losing that little bit of time, holds the inside line, trying to keep it all together as they battle their way through. Side by side they go. Sergey just going to help bump along and try and ensure that he's get past as well. So Willem Pienaar losing out not one but two positions on the run. Gordon Hales into the pits in the first 3 minutes of the race. Gareth Britz coming out of the pits. So interesting running there. Werner Kursop will be getting himself sorted, and Chris DeSantos is going to try carry momentum. Oh, Sergey's gone. Sergey losing that rear is off into the walls, bouncing around. Jan Wessels, Wyatt Peters, and we did actually see Sergey in the background of the camera shot as he not only got it completely wrong, he shot across the entirety of the circuit and landed up exactly where our leaders were. That is going to be a world of hurt as the car snapped around him. He's down into 16th position and will lose out even more time. Those tires are going to be absolutely broken by the end of it. Jacques onto the back of Yuppie Simons at the moment as they battle their way through, closing up at a rate of knots. Yuppie just doing everything he can to keep the momentum at the moment. He's hoping to have a better Heat 1 versus, Heat 2 versus Heat 1, knowing that he's got a little bit more momentum underneath him. Etienne Swart trying to close up that gap in the Ultra Carpet Racing, chasing down that Black Panther, really going to show the Rexy Porsche a run for its money here. Say, listen, you guys went extinct. Now it is time for the Black Panthers to lurk around and see how close we can get. Stephen Cakebread in the McLaren a little bit further back, trying to pull his way back up. Has got Robbie Teens chasing him down. Farney Cravenstein, and as it does, it looks like Leon Vessels, Ron DeToy, Wyatt Peters, Malcolm Pringle all into the pits. Shark Ava into the pits as well, looking for the undercut there. So Roland Ferreira, Yuppie Simons, and the likes of Etienne Swart will continue the drive. Stephen Cakebread, Robbie Teens, Farney Cravenstein, Doe Herber, Willem Pienaar, Peter van der Spey all over the back of Willem Pienaar at the moment, trying to get them to run on him on the inside. But it also makes me wonder where on earth the likes of Gordon Hales is going to end up on this. Duncan Roderick trying to keep himself going. But here comes Gordon Hales, who pitted early on in the race. Can he get the jump on the field? Wyatt Peters, Ron DeToy, and Malcolm Pringle all getting out of the pits. And you can see the entire field of cars exiting pit lane. There is Rexy of Jacques Ava trying to carry a little bit of momentum. Gordon Hales sees the team slowpokes got ahead of him, and it looks like they've learned their lesson from Heat 1, what Gordon can do. So Gordon's on to the back of Malcolm Pringle now, and he's going to try and make short work of him. Malcolm still battling a little bit with the internet connectivity. Ron DeToy, Wyatt Peters all getting themselves out. Our top 13 still needing to get in the pits and get going, while the rest have served their first pit stops. Stephen Cakebread onto the back of Etienne Swart, carrying a lot of momentum through the bus stop. Looks to try and close up. Suddenly Robbie Teens actually getting a better run. Looks to try and close up in the asymmetric, that is the Acetec Ferrari that is onto the back of the McLaren. So the 296 Ferrari on the 720S versing the 992. Talk about having a cell phone number of note, as we do see Etienne Swart pulling into the pits. He's not going to make that dial-up call, and is going to get himself sorted out. Robbie Teens going to keep on the back of Stephen Cakebird, trying to keep up the momentum. Doe Herber going to go a little bit longer this time around. Willem Pienaar, Peter van der Spey going side by side as Pienaar run on the outside, and Peter van der Spey getting that pass done and dusted. Dimitri Pravadas now trying to make up some time. Mark Pulser chasing him down. Duncan Roderick trying to close up that gap. Lee Billion having a better race than what he had in Heat 1. Will keep ahead of Etienne Swart. Wyatt Peters trying to make his way through. Ron DeToy, Malcolm Pringle, Gordon Hayes, Jacques Ava, Leon Vessels, Chris Lee DeSantos out there. Has got Norman Lewis chasing him down. as they make their way around the track. Sergei Sarkov and running at the back of the field, but is still putting in a good fight, is Gareth Brits, along with Vaynand Kursop. Vaynand still needing to get out of pit lane though, so he's going to have to really go and get himself going before it all happens. Roland Ferreira, Yippee Simons trying to get himself together. Stephen Cakebread dealing with Robbie Teens at the moment. Teens starting to close up that gap at a rate of knots. We'll battle it out, look towards the inside, second guessed it. See Stephen Cakebread losing out a bit of time, feathering the throttle, hanging in fourth gear, oddly enough, and feathering it through. Not going down into third, try and power his way through there. He's just working on the stability of fourth gear, which is always a difficult one nonetheless. So now drivers having to work out pit stop strategies. And it does look like Robbie Teens is going to continue on the drive with Stephen Cakebread just ahead of him. So our drivers needing to get going once again. Robbie Teens getting the drive, as it does look like the Porsche that's just ahead of them losing out that little bit of time. And Stephen Cakebread will be trying to get past the Porsche, the 111 as fast, well, double one as fast, but the 111 or double one, as we'll take a look. That is one of the back markers that needs to move out of the way at this point. Or is that? No, it isn't. That's Yippee Simons. I do apologize. The 111 running in second place with Roland Ferreira up the road. So this is a battle out for second. But our top 11 still needing to get themselves into the pits. Dimitri Provalis now into the pits. But Yippee Simons trying to keep himself ahead of Stephen Cakebread as he runs. Robbie Teens onto the back of him. So Robbie's going to try and push as hard as he can. Porsche, McLaren, Ferrari all walk into a bar. Sounds like a bad joke here at Daytona, but it is no joke nonetheless. The 296 Ferrari made its debut here at the Daytona 24-hour. The Porsche 992 GT3R made its run at the Nürburgring 24. The Nürburgring 24, that was its debut. And the McLaren, well, it's been around since Noah's Ark. They're actually coming out at the start of the SRO season was its first time out onto the track. Another debut out on Daytona 24 was the Chevrolet Z06 and also the ZR1 going and having a good time out there. But this is Roland Ferreira pushing as hard as he can in his Chev GT3, where they moved away from the front engines and they moved it to the rear engines. Yippee Simons has got Stephen Cakebread all over the back of him, chasing him down, with Fani Cravenstein, Doe Herber keeping just ahead, as we do see Willem Buerta battling it out with Peter van der Spey just narrowly holding on. Willem Buerta not backing down from the fight, suddenly will have a bit of a problem. Mark Balser trying to close up that gap. So Gareth Brits onto the back of Willem Buerta, but he is a blue flag car, so don't expect him to get involved in this fight. Willem Buerta taking a very wide line as he chases down Peter van der Spey, looking for any way to get past as our drivers start their climb back up through. Peters, Ruan de Toy, Malcolm Pringle, Gordon Hayes all trying to make their way up through the fight, and they will be closing in as the Team Slowpokes now closed up on one another, tightening up that gap, and it is going to get a little bit more difficult to maneuver their way around. Malcolm Pringle trying to battle his way through. Gordon Hales will be seeing this team close up on one another, but is starting to get a little bit feisty with one another as well. So Team Slowpokes are going to be rather careful running in this very tight formation as it stands, because there's no room for error, and there is a very, very certain Chev that is chasing him down, looking to try and figure out how he can get by. So Gordon Hales will look to try and go on the inside line. Can he do it? Seeing Malcolm Pringle going and blipping in and out of existence, losing out that little bit of time as he lifted just to be a little bit more cautious. Stephen Cakebread trying to make his way up. Now Yippee Simons just ahead of him. Yippie's going to try and get as much momentum as possible. Remember, they still need to get in the pits as Fani Cravenstein pulls into the pits. So Fani with the early pits. Yippee Simons goes for a defensive inside line. Suddenly, you see Stephen Cakebread all over the back of him, trying to figure out where he can get past here. And Stephen Cakebread, very, very aggressive on the attacking. He's not one to back down from a fight. Yippee Simons is very defensive. He's very aggressive on the defense. He will walk you to the fringes of the circuit. We've seen it before in the past where he's not afraid to get his elbows out in racing and not going to back down from the fight. So drivers really trying to show off what they can do, and oh, very, very close. And Stephen Cakebread looked for the lunge. I think there may have been a slight touch there, but was able to pull it back. But unfortunately, dropping him way down the order. Not ideal circumstances, but definitely one that works in the favor as Gordon Hales looked to try and get onto the back of Malcolm Pringle, but that car going in. We're going to get to a few problems, so Gordon needs to try and figure out what can he do to try and get by, because at the moment Malcolm Pringle is becoming a bit of a nuisance to get past. And Wyatt Peters and Rowan Detroit going and utilizing this little bit of time, look to open up the gap as far as they can. Duncan Roderick closing up to Lee Bullion, and Lee going and watched his fellow brother Niall go and have a huge amount of fun over the course of the racing season. Lee going and jumping in behind and saying, right, I'm going to take my car and have a great stomp up towards the sharp end of the order as they close up to Mark Pelser just ahead of them in the 992. Doug Herber now into the pit lane. So he's going to pit. Peter van der Spey dives into the pits. Willem Pienaar into the pits. Will Mark Pelser, Lee Bullion, and Duncan Roderick going on in kind? Well, it does look like Mark going and pulling into the pits. So Lee's going to continue the drive. Duncan's going to continue the drive. So it's Roland Ferreira, Yuppie Simon, Stephen Cakebread, Lee Bullion, and Duncan Roderick are your top 5 and still needing to get in and out of the pits. Rowan Detroit is still running in formation with Peters chasing him down. Malcolm Pringle slightly off that train, trying to give him a little bit of fresh air. Has got Gordon Hales chasing him down, looking to send a barrage of attacks onto the back of him. Malcolm Pringle going and making up a lot of time into turn 1. Tells me he's a bit more confident on the braking there, carrying a lot more momentum in through the corner, as we do see Gordon Hales trying to close up that gap as quick as possible. Farney Cravenstein now dealing with Etienne Swart as Etienne looks towards the inside. Couldn't quite go for the pass as yet. It did take a small lunge just to let him know that he's around. He's not backing out of this fight. DeSantos coming and making his way through in the BMW, battling it out. He has got Dimitri Provadas all over the back of him. Dimitri not going to back down. He's going to try and close up that fight as quick as possible. Yuppie Simons with Stephen Cakebread still on the back of him. Stephen's going to try and pull himself along. He has got a little bit too much wing on the back of that McLaren, as it does look like he battles in the straight line. So he's got a fair amount of drag on the car, but he's not able to get that top end compared to Yuppie Simon. So he dives into the pits to try and get himself sorted. Yuppie's going to carry on going, but where is that going to end up? Because here comes Lee, who may actually go and call the bluff here, pull it into the pits as well, along with Duncan Roderick, to try and get themselves sorted. Roland Ferreira going to go that long game again as he did in Heat 1. Lee looks like he's going to do exactly the same, seeing the effect there. Duncan Roderick going to follow through. So Roland Ferreira, interesting enough, has set the bar in Heat 1 to go and battle out, and he saw what he needed to do and how long he can really take this car down to the wire. Not going to be an easy time out there. Malcolm Pringle going and getting ahead of Peters and then losing it out as they make their way through. Both Team Slowpoke drivers costing each other time. And here comes Gordon Hales around the outside of both of them. Outbraked himself into turn 4. Got a little bit too greedy there, seeing that there was an opportunity, and that cost him a huge amount of time. Jacques Xavier, though, is going to be more than happy to get right onto the back of him. So Jacques is going to do everything he can now to get that Porsche a little bit closer, knowing that the Chev just overcooked it, and he's trying to scrub those tires clean again before he can get out and racing at full pace. Dimitri Provadas, also one of our closest battles out on track, onto the back of Chris Lee DeSantos as they battle their way through. Turned into quite a good race for them. Unfortunately, Sergei Sarkov down the order will be losing out a lot of time after a terrible off track. He's down into 17th. He's dropped 17 positions. He's down into 22nd. Gareth Britt's down 13 positions. It's just behind him. He's in 23rd. But another one that's lost out a lot of time is Chris Lee DeSantos, who went and took that early dive. Unfortunately, didn't quite work out. That was actually against Provadas to try and get that pass done and dusted. Bit of a lunge, didn't work out, and he's down 15 positions. As we do see Roland Ferreira keeping on the drive. Yuppie Simons in lead, pulling into the pits. Duncan Roderick's going to try and keep it going at the moment as he does yet another lap. So Roland Ferreira has got a driver to keep an eye out for, and that's Duncan Roderick, who's looked further up the field and is keeping an eye on what Roland Ferreira is doing. The toy keeping ahead of Peters Pringle and Gordon Hales, who's way down the order with Jacques Taver going onto the back of him. Jacques battling it out, trying to close up that gap. He's getting a little bit desperate on the moves there to just try and get that pass done, but you can't go and blame the guy. At the moment, you need to score any win possible. So Malcolm Pringle will try and carry as much of the drive as possible. While Peters just getting into the corner right before Malcolm Pringle not hanging around. Man, it's so close between these two. And Pringle, every time you think he's going to try and take the lunge, backs out of it. Wyatt Peters keeping a very close eye on his teammates, and I think there is going to be a bit of radio communication there saying, listen, let's cautious of what we're doing here. As we do see Chris Lee DeSantos onto the back of Willem Pienaar, the Castrol machine just ahead, now trying to open up that little bit of a gap. Suddenly has the Logistical Nightmare Racing BMW all over the back of him. And Willem Pienaar's not going to make this easy as we do get yellow flags. Mark Pulser, unfortunately, being one of those yellow flags. Roland Ferreira now into the pits. So this has changed things up. Duncan Roderick will come into the pits as well. Final 10 minutes of the race. Both cars into the pits. Where will the rest of the field be, though? Have they opened up enough of a gap? Here comes the toy. He's going to certainly get the pass done. Peters and Malcolm Pringle are going to go side by side with one another. Two McLarens running in great formation, but also in a fight of their own. See Roland Ferreira is starting to come out, and they know that they need to be ahead of that Chevrolet come hell or high water at this point. And Pringle not giving his teammate any breathing room as he makes his way through. Gordon Hales gets past Roland Ferreira just on braking. Roland Ferreira a little bit more gentle as he's just come out on a fresh set of tires and will be losing out a bit of time here. So he's got to ensure that he carries on the way through. So drivers now need to push themselves out of the box in the remaining 9 minutes of this race. Heat 2 of our Raceface.Pro GT3 iRacing Sprint Series Pro-Am class as they fought their way in towards the top. And now it is just an absolute brawl all the way down. Malcolm Pringle will have to try and give a good look at Wyatt Peters at the moment to try and chase him down. But a little bit further back, Etienne Swart onto the back of Fani Cravenstein. Doug Herber making a bit of time as he's all over the back of Yuppie Simons, trying to get that pass done and dusted. It's not going to be an easy time for the two of them. They are absolutely pushing as hard as they can. Peter van der Spey trying to close down the gap as quick as he can. Willem Pienaar a little bit further down has got Chris Lee DeSantos, Dimitri Provadas, Lee Billion, Norman Lewis a little bit further down has got Duncan Roderick. Mark Pelser trying to bring his way back up through the circuit has got Stephen Cakebread, who's down the order. Sergei Starkov going and making his way around, but it does look like Gareth Pritz, Veynon Kursa, Paul Nadir, all going to be retired out of this race for the remainder of it. And that is absolutely devastating for the drivers. They were on a proper charge at the beginning of the season, but going to be hemorrhaging points and using these 2 rounds as drop rounds. So there's going forward, they cannot make a single mistake. They've got to score big every step of the way. Peter van der Spey trying to take a look at Doug Herber as they run it down through the gears. Yuppie Simons has opened up the gap, and Doug Herber's got to be very careful here as Peter van der Spey will keep the push. And we do see DeSantos get ahead of Willem Pienaar, and Dimitri Provadas now will try and take a look at it. as they make their way around turn 4 into turn 5 into the quick left-hander where it's absolutely keep it pinned, but the tires are going to be a little bit off now. Track conditions have changed, marbles have built up over the circuit, so there is next to no room for error on the run through. Peters hoping to try and keep on the back of Malcolm Pringle, and Pringle not having an easy time out there with the likes of DeToy miles ahead of him. So great running for DeToy, but Peters needs to try and get the hurry up and go if he wants to beat out his teammate here and score valuable points. But take a look at who's right on the back of them. Gordon Hales has come in for a fight, and he's going to make this well known. Chasing down, gets in the toe, pulls himself along. Can he get as much momentum as possible to really go for a late lunge here to try and move himself up into the podium positions as they claw their way around the track? He goes up high, trying to bring it down low, goes for a bit of an undercut, has to second guess it though, stuck on the outside as Peters runs him out a little bit wide there. Hales not having an easy time as Wyatt Peters going and watching his rearview mirror, releases Malcolm Pringle. He's saying, okay, I'm not worrying about you anymore. I've got a bigger problem on the back of me. And while we were fighting it out, this gave Gordon an absolute perfect opportunity to close up the gap at a rate of knots at the moment. So Gordon really needs to keep it absolutely pinned to try and go for the pass as they go nose to tail with one another once again. Valentina going and battling it out with Providus, but Providus just getting ahead, a little bit, a nose ahead at that point. Stephen Cakebread getting ahead of Mark Pulser as he tries to make his way through. It is heating up towards the end of the track, and even Doug Herber, Peter van der Spey, and Yuppie Simons are all over the back of one another, so they are pushing as hard as they can to run it down to the end in the last 5 minutes of Heat 2 of our Pro-Am division here at Raceface.Pro, and it's going to be an absolute sin. Ruined a toy with a clean drive, breaking away from Malcolm Pringle. Wyatt Peters losing out a bit of time through bus stop. Suddenly has Gordon Hales a little bit closer than planned and trying to give it everything he's got. Roland Ferreira hanging in tow will be giving him a good go at the moment. Peter van Spey and Doug Herber going and making their way through, as it does look like Peter van Spey gets a pass done. Doug Herber actually connecting with the wall a little bit there and gets a little bit of a bent front end on the right-hand side. Santos now will be chasing him down, trying to make his way through. Going to be a proper fight between them. Carving their way through. DeSantos looks up high. Going to go the high line though. Can he keep it all together, as we do see Doug Herber not able to beat him out in straight line at the moment, is suffering. Is going to keep the inside line, keep it nice and tucked in, gets into the toe, going to try maybe possibly under braking, knowing that he's not quite strong enough to go for the passes yet. Gordon Hales giving everything he's got, looks towards the inside line, and suddenly there's a room running out, but Wyatt Peters goes on the defense, actually moving slightly to protect Malcolm Pringle at this point. Gordon, though, taking a look around, trying to bait Peters into a move, trying to see where exactly can he get by, and that has allowed Roland Ferreira to close up onto him, as we do see Peters missing out a gear and now lost out a bit of drive. Gordon Hales into the slipstream of Mr. Pringle, and Pringle is actually now losing out. He's helping out his teammates as they go side by side, and you can see how Hales is now lined up side by side. Can he carry the momentum through? Well, not enough. Malcolm Pringle just did enough to back off Gordon Hales, and now here comes Roland Ferreira around the outside. He's going to absolutely keep it pinned, and that is exactly what Peters wanted to see. Roland Ferreira brought into the fray. Roland goes up high, down low, going to bring himself around in the closing stages of this race as they fight it out. Malcolm Pringle just narrowly keeping ahead of his very own teammate as DeToy into the pits. DeToy gets in, oh, never mind, there was a timing glitch that popped him in and out, so I thought we may have just lost our leader, as we do have the running order. So Roland Ferreira really hanging on at the moment, trying to do everything he can, and you've got Fonnie Cravenstein and Leon Vessels all pushing each other, with Etienne Swart in for the fray as well. The Santos and Peter van der Spey also pushing to try and close up that little bit of a gap. So it is tough times all over for our drivers in the final 2 minutes. And Peter's losing out a bit of time, not so confident on the brakes anymore with the McLaren, getting a little bit unsteady into turn 4, turn 5. And now Gordon Hales with the Chev, very, very top end. Proficient, knows how to carry the momentum through onto the oval. Gets down low, trying to pull himself along. And Roland Ferreira also hanging in there as they battle their way through. But with time running out, how long can Hales keep up the pressure? How long can Wyatt Peters be able to keep up the momentum? Will Roland Ferreira be that dark horse to get past and really go for it? Willem Pienaar, though, into the wall as he's lost out a bit of time and now suffering a bit of damage on his car right towards the end of the race. De Toy onto the back of Gareth Brits at the moment and giving a quick flash to Brits saying, listen, let's get by. I want to get past you right now. I don't want to hang around. I've got a very, very angry mob coming up behind me. Malcolm Pringle and a little bit of fresh air. Wyatt Peters going for the defensive, holds the inside line. Gordon Hales trying to go around the outside. Going to carry a lot of momentum though. Goes up high and sees Malcolm Pringle trying to go midline. Ducks around and Malcolm Pringle forces him out wide. Peters tries to come back, but Hales is really stamping on the throttle. Bottoms out the car over the curb. Just trying to get that pass done. Roland Ferreira, huge send on the inside, trying to get his way past as it turns into an absolute mugging right behind Peters as Roland Ferreira out of nowhere puts his nose in, launches for the attack, and now needs to go and pull on. Hales is going to try and come back at him, looks for the inside line, huge send though, and gets it all booked in. Hales goes out wide though, out of the corner exit, side by side the Chevs go. And it is Roland Ferreira and Hales, after they were going after Peters for quite some time. Wyatt Peters is going to get the fresh air he needs to open up the gap. Roland Ferreira went on the absolute attack to try and get past Hales at the moment. Felt that he was getting held up a little too much at the moment. And will make his way through. But how long can they keep this pace up? What's going to be the running order? Who's going to be able to battle it out? As we also see Doug Herber dealing with Dimitri Provadas at the moment, and the likes, looks to be Peter van der Spey a little bit further down, but Ruan de Toy will have a clean race towards the end. Malcolm Pringle got a bit of space to the likes of Wyatt Peters. Gordon Hales lost out that time with Roland Ferreira going on the attack to him as they make their way through, heading down towards the start-finish line. And it was Ruan de Toy that gets the win. Malcolm Pringle takes second place ahead of Wyatt Peters. Gordon Hales down into fourth place. Roland Ferreira comes across the line in fifth. Jacques Ava finishes up in sixth place. Robbie Teens comes across the line. He's going to be quite happy with that. Etienne Swart will get ahead of Fani Cravenstein. Leon Vessels going and keeping ahead. But here comes Doug Herber and Dimitri Provadas. They're going to take it down to the wire. Side by side they go. McLaren Porsche as they battle their way through and across the line. 0.033. Doug Herber stays ahead of Dimitri Provadas right at the line. And that was just by an absolute minute amount of fuel. Dimitri Provadas, Peter van der Spey finishes in 13th. Lee Bullion finishes up in 14th. Yuppie Simons in 15th. Chris Lee de Santos finishes up in 16th, along with Willem Pienaar, Duncan Roderick, Norman Lewis, Sergei Sarkov, and we cannot forget Mark Pelser making his way through. We got to go and give a bit of a shout out to Mark Pelser. A little bit further down the order, he's kept it clean, he's going wide, just enjoying the momentum and having a bit of fun here at Daytona, saying goodbye to it in the best way possible. A quick weave and a quick wobble of the 992 Porsche GT3R and comes across the line to take the check flag. 21st position ahead of Gareth Brits. So great racing there, and what a run it was. Let's take a look at our results though. As it's Ruan de Toy taking the win, Malcolm Pringle in second, Wyatt Peters in third, fourth place Gordon Hales, Roland Ferreira, Jacques Avert, Robbie Teens, Etienne Swart, Fani Cravenstein, Leon Vessels, Doug Herbert, Dimitri Provadas, Peter van der Spey, Lee Bullion, Yuppie Simons, Chris Lee DeSantos, along with Valentino, Duncan Roderick, a little bit further down the order. And as we go a little bit further down, Norman Lewis, Sergei Sarkov, Mark Palser, Stephen Cakebread, Gareth Brits, Venom Kursup, Born Deer, rounding out our field. That was a great time here at the lovely Daytona Speedway for round 2 of the Raceface.Pro GT3 iRacing Sprint Series. But let's take a look at what our championships are standing, because we're going to get a bit of an insight into what the drop rounds are also playing in. So let's take a look at our current championship results. So as we wait to get those championship results sent to us by Tim, our cameraman, and who has been putting in all the work. Big shout out to Tim, gotta love him. But here is our championships points. Ron Toy will maintain first place. Wyatt Peters will move up a position. Malcolm Pringle down 1. Gordon Hales maintains 4th place, along with Roland Ferreira in 5th. Robbie Teens, Etienne Swart, Leon Vessels, Doe Gerber in 9th place. Jacques Saver in 10th. Sergei Sarkov, Fani Cravenstein, Chris Lee DeSantos, Gareth Britt, Stephen Kutzer, Yuppie Simons, Mark Pelser, Lee Billion in 18th position. Going a little bit further down from that, we have got Hilton Nixon, who was not on the track this evening. He will still maintain enough points ahead of Venon Kursop, Willem Pinot, Stephen Cakebread, Peter van der Spey, Francois Dutoy, Jaco Krobler. A little bit further down in 25th. He was not on the track today. Duncan Roderick scoring a few points. Norman Lewis and Hendrik Oosthuizen in 28th position. 29th, Dimitri Pravadas scores a couple of positions. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining us here at round 2 of the Raceface.Pro GT3 iRacing Sprint Series for our Pro-Am division. In 2 weeks' time, we'll be heading out to the track once again. Next week, we will be having our Indy cars going out racing. Join us out on a Tuesday evening to go and have a bit of fun with us for our IndyCar racing here at Raceface.Pro. But coming up this week, Saturday is the Midrand 570, not to be missed, out on Assetto Corsa Competizione, as our drivers will battle it out 9.5 hours around Kyalami in the widely anticipated race of the century, if I can put it that way. Everyone wants to be at the Midrand 570 and duking out, but also for all you iRacers out there, we've gone and turned the arms, we've turned it behind the backs, we've heard you all, we've made the noise, and mark it down on your calendar. 7th of December, we will be having the 9 Hours of Japan. So our major endurance race here at Raceface.Pro for the iRacing platform, 7th of December, 9 Hours of Japan. Get your entries in, log your teams in, and get ready to rock and roll with some racing. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining us here at Daytona. My name is Stephen Koenig from the THT Productions booth, and we'll see you next time right here at Raceface.Pro. With all the amazing racing that comes to you weekly, we have to give acknowledgement to our sponsors. Without them, this would not be possible here at Raceface.Pro. So starting off with our first sponsor, let's go and take your hats off to PokerBet. For all the tournaments, for all the cash games, daily free rolls, and sports betting, there's no better place to be and win with PokerBet. With it all revved up and you're looking for high speed, whether you're into drag, drift, or even long circuit, Red Star Raceway has got you covered. As we take a look off to all our machinery needs, head over to Oddendorf Machinery Mart. Remember to keep it slick with SA Lube, 20 years of Castrol distribution. Sliding in to keep you on your toes, Scallywags Drift Academy will keep you right at the top of the pack. And if you're looking for all your streaming needs, head over to Tenvo Tech for all the overlays. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's been an honor having you. We'll see you next time right here from the THT Productions.